How would you feel about a law that requires people over the age of 70 to pass a specialized driving test in order to continue driving?
That's a great idea. I'm going to call my 68-year-old congressman and ask him to support such legislation. Edit: most driving laws are passed by state legislators, who usually do drive themselves.
And if they ever need to get a vote on such an issue, it's not like seniors are the best at getting themselves to the polls. Oh,
You just made it all make sense. Younger voters are afraid to drive to the polls, lest they be hit by old farts in big cars careening down the road to cast their ballot. Maybe some are even being killed before reaching the polls, too, reducing the number of younger voters further.
you want more sense? Many old people at that age are retired and have all the time in the world to follow politics and get to the polling booth. Whereas younger people are too busy with work, school, and relationships to think about that stuff, let alone participate.
I'm beginning to think I could write for The Onion.
A safe stay-at-home job. It'll keep you off the streets and safe from those old people who keep running over young people. Smile.
Please. My grandma is practically blind and went to take her driving vision test to renew her license. She failed, but the lady at the DMV felt bad, so she had her take it again and gave her hints so she could pass it. So now my practically blind grandma is out on the roads still. It's for their safety as much as anyone else's. I'm so mad that the lady at the DMV was so irresponsible as to let her keep driving.
That's the kind of thing that should get you fired from the DMV, if not charged with a criminal offense.
Bureaucratic discretion saves a lot of time and money when done well. I agree that she shouldn't have let her pass, but there are cases where the tester should use their experienced judgment over explicit rules. Edit: I did say she shouldn't have passed her. And to those saying fuck this is how it is. There's too many possibilities for everything to be codified and followed to the pen in big bureaucracies. On that note, I'm no expert either, just stuff I learned in high school.
Then what's the fucking point of the test?
Exactly, a test is meant to be completely objective. If passing or failing depends on the person administering the test, it's a shitty system.
In other news, life is not completely objective.
Ideally, we'd all be retested every 10 years or so until we hit 60, then we're retested every 5 years. However, older folks are a huge voting bloc and it's unlikely this would ever pass.
This is probably the best case scenario. I know dangerous drivers at any age, but have tests more often at younger and older ages for obvious reasons.
I'm all for retesting people, however, I'm not sure what you mean by specialized. The requirements for good driving don't change with age, so it should be the same test.
Maybe he means a few preliminary questions before even getting near a vehicle.
Sir, do you know what year it is?
1992.
We had to say dickety because the Kaiser had stolen our word 20. Abe Simpson.
So I tied an onion to my belt, which was the style at the time.
Old retired guy here. 74 years old to be precise. I would accept such a test provided it was only to catch really age-related diseases. Dementia, poor reflexes, etc. I live in a retirement community and most of the people who should not have a license have already given them up. The first day I was here I heard a conversation between two guys. Guy 1, I just turned 88 and turned in my driver's license. Guy 2, why would you do that? Guy 1, I don't want to spend the rest of my life in jail.
I spent a lot of time at my grandparents' retirement community's pool. One particular shocker was overhearing a woman say she was driving around and no longer taking her anti-seizure medication. Several residents sold their cars and bought golf carts and could get around easily that way. Edit to add: my grandmother ended up bumping into several buildings and another car before deciding to sell her car. But she won't give up her license, just in case she decided to take a taxi to a dealership that would gladly sell her a car.
When I had a seizure, I was told my license was suspended. Which it turned out it wasn't, since I went and got my normal license, was on a permit, soon after, no problems.
In Australia, I had a seizure during surgery and had my license suspended. I had to wait 3 months and have several tests before they decided there was nothing wrong with me. It then took them another month before the paperwork was done for me to drive again. It sucked.
That's kind of weird. Was the seizure not related to the surgery? I would think the doctor would say, oh yeah, You just had a psychogenic seizure from the anesthesia. You're not actually epileptic, so I'm not going to suspend your license.
Same in Canada, doctors in some provinces must report any condition that could mean you should not drive. Seizures? Well, until they are sure it's not a recurring thing, better safe than sorry. After all, the doctor still gets to drive even if you don't. But if he doesn't report, he could lose his, more valuable, medical license. Anything that results in blackouts, automatic suspension.
Here in Illinois, my grandpa had to do it every year after 75.
I think older drivers definitely need to be retested and have restrictions put on their license as to driving at night, driving only within certain distances of the home, driving above certain speeds, etc., up to and including revocation if found to be impaired to significant degree. And I'm staring down 70 myself. In Japan, they have special decals that identify new drivers and the elderly, which I think is a good thing. If you see someone with an elderly tag, you might not assume that driver sees everything you do or reacts as quickly as you do. I had trouble getting my dad to quit driving because I knew he couldn't see. He couldn't tell me from my daughter from across the room. I called the DMV for suggestions and they sent him a letter to come in for a vision test. He passed. He was in his 90s with cataracts and dementia. We had a lot of rancor over this issue and he ended up living with my brother whom he would actually listen to. And he quit driving.
I'm an optometrist. You'd be surprised at how many patients come in and tell me they failed the DMV vision test, but the person passed them anyway. It's ridiculous.
Those DMV people that pass people who fail eye tests are criminals. Why are they doing that? Jesus.
I was 17 when I took the vision test for my license. The guy doing the vision test had me look into a little box and asked me which of these signs is farthest away. I have no vision issues of any kind, and great depth perception, but for the life of me I couldn't tell. I answered him honestly, if sarcastically, and said, I don't know, they're all about 10 inches away in a wooden box. All he said was and passed me. He probably just thought I was some asshole kid, but he didn't do anything to follow up me saying, very clearly, that I couldn't tell.
I work at a driver licensing office. Maybe I can help for clarity. When it comes to depth perception, we need to give that part of the test, but you can't technically fail that part where I'm at. If your depth perception sucks, I need to tell you that objects may be closer than they appear, but we license those with vision in only one eye, which is zero depth perception. As long as you have 20/30 vision, no diplopia, and adequate peripheral vision, 120 degrees, you're likely to pass. Edit, and not severely colorblind.
Can we make everyone take it? Seriously, I see more horrible drivers in the commuting age bracket than in the retired age bracket.
We had a pretty solid test in Virginia, had to take 6 weeks of driver's classroom training and then had to do several test drives with an instructor before we could get our actual license. The final approval is done by the training instructor, but you take the knowledge test at the DMV.
Virginia also has the least fatal crashes autoinsuranceCenter.com/fatal-crash-causes.htm in the US.
Correlation doesn't necessarily imply causation, but it does point its fingers furtively and waggle its eyebrows suggestively while mouthing over there.
Relevant XKCD https://xkcd.com/552/